Okay, so very good afternoon to all of you. Very good afternoon. Today we are going to conduct a very important session for your AA exam for the December 2025 attempt, because as we all know that ACCA body launches the ACCA AA pre-mock right before the attempt. So today we are going to solve all of those questions which are inclusive as part of the pre-mock for AA examination on YouTube live. Okay, so whosoever is attending this session, you should have one notepad available with you. Okay, and if required, you could also open the ACCA practice platform and you can subscribe or you can enroll on this particular pre-mock and write your answers along with me. Okay, so today we are going to conduct a detailed session on how to write the answers, how to select the relevant options in case of MCQs, and how do we need to move forward when we talk about the pre-mock, because today we are going to get a lot of insights that are going to help you appear for the real examination on 1st of December as well. Okay, so that is going to be very important. I hope everybody is clear. Please let me know on the chat box if I'm audible and visible clearly. Please let me know on the chat box. Yes, please let me know on the chat box if I'm audible and visible clearly. I can see that I'm audible and visible clearly now. Okay, great. If you are available in the session, please let me know present in the comment box. Please write present in the comment box so that I can understand that you are available in the session. Yes, great. Okay, perfect. Okay. Thank you everybody. Okay. So now we are going to officially start with the solution of ACCA AA pre-mock for December 2025 attempt. In this session, we are going to cover the answers, that is how do we write, how do we need to frame the answers. We are also going to cover, in case of MCQs, how do we need to eliminate certain options and how do we need to focus on the right option. Plus, we are also going to discuss about that whenever we see any questions, what all points we should note down and how do we need to address all the answers, that too with the pre-mock that is going to be live right now. Okay, so now this is the screen which is for the pre-mock, right? You might have seen this. So this says I have already passed on the instructions. Okay, and now this says that this section of the exam contains 3 OT cases. OT as an objective type cases. Each OT case contains a scenario which relates to 5 OT questions. Is it already known to us? Yes, there are 3 case studies. Each contains 5 questions and each carries 2 marks, right? So each question is worth 2 marks and is compulsory. So what is the total? The total is 15 questions of 2 marks each, that is 30 marks. Okay, the exam section is worth 30 marks in total. Okay, this exam section worth 30 marks in total. Now my friends, I would like to tell you one thing specifically over here, that whenever we discuss about any of the examination, you should try to score as much as possible in the MCQ part. Why do I say that? Because if you want to secure an AIR or if you want to get very good marks in AA, the only way of doing that is through the MCQs. That is, if you score 25 plus marks, although you should try for whole 30 marks, but if you score at least 25 plus marks, then there's a greater chance that you will cover or you will score above 70 marks in the real examination, also 70 or 80 marks also, right? So that is why it is very important for all of you. Now I'm clicking on next button. Okay, so this is it. Okay, next. Okay, so now there's a case study. What I will suggest you is you should have one notepad, one diary with you where you can note down the core details. We are going to read the question first and then we are going to read through the answers. But during the regular classes, we discussed one thing, that what you should ideally do is you should first of all go through little bit of question, just the requirement of the question, to understand is there any requirement which you can fulfill even without reading the case studies. Okay, so that is something that you should always do. Right now, which of the following initial actions should Redbridge and company take following Northgate's refusal to allow Redbridge? No, this is very specific to the case study, cannot do so. Second, which of the following procedures should be performed to confirm the loan liability balance at year end? Now this is something that maybe we could solve, right? So review board minutes for evidence of approval of the external finance. No, this is not for the confirmation of the balance. Agree the loan payments recorded in the journal ledger to bank statement to confirm capital has been repaid. Yes, this could be done. Agree the year end liability balance to bank confirmation letters. Yes, this could also be done, right? Then compare loan liabilities at the end of the year to balance in the previous year. Now this will confirm the opening balance, not the closing balance. So ideally point 2 and 3 are looking appropriate, so option 2 should be appropriate. Let me write it. second option should be appropriate, right? Second option should be appropriate, right? So this you could solve even without looking at the case study. Now the next question, which of the following audit procedure provide evidence regarding the accuracy, valuation and allocation of share capital presented in Northgate's company's financial statement for the year ended 31st May 2025? Now this is also something that you can solve because it is asking you to provide evidence regarding three assertions: accuracy, valuation and allocation. So review board minute meetings to identify matters relating to share capital, including ensuring proper authority was given for the rights issue. Now this is not related to, this is a valid audit procedure, but this is not related to accuracy, valuation or allocation, right? Now agree the number of authorized shares disclosed in the notes to the financial statements. I'll write certain notes also. Agree the number of authorized shares disclosed in the notes to the financial statements to Northgate's constitution documents as in the registration documents. For that also, I would not say that it is related to accuracy, valuation or allocation. That is why I am rejecting this option. Now the third one, agree closing share capital balances in the trial balance to statutory records and the draft financial statements. So closing share capital balances. Now this is not talking about the number of shares, this is talking about the balance. So this should be the right option, option 3. Now let's read the fourth one also, like we have already discussed, right? So fourth option is inspect the bank ledger account. Inspect the bank ledger account to confirm cash receipts from the rights issue have been completely and accurately recorded or not. Now this addresses your valuation assertion. So I think 3 and 4 should be the right option. 3 and 4 should be the right option here. Okay. Now let's talk about the next one. Okay. So which of the following are substantive analytical procedure for wages and salaries? Now again, this is something for which you do not need to read the case studies. Which two of the following are substantive analytical procedure? This is talking about analytical procedure 520, right? Analytical procedure, plausible relationships, right? So recalculate the gross and net pay for a sample of employees, agree to payroll records and investigate discrepancies. Now this is something, this is not analytical procedure, right? Because we are calculating for certain employees. If you would have been projecting it to the entire employees, then it would have been the analytical procedure. Then compare the current year total payroll expense to the prior year and investigate any significant differences. So this is something which is called as variance analysis, part of the analytical procedure. Third one, agree. So second option could be the right one here. Let me write, and agree the total net pay per the payroll record to the bank transfer listing of payments and to the bank ledger, that is whether the payment has been done accurately or not. So now this is again a valid procedure but not a substantive analytical procedure. Then perform a proof in total calculation and compare expected payroll expense to actual expense reported in the draft financial statement. This is again analytical procedure, that is comparing actual with the calculated amount. So second and fourth seems like the right option. Okay. Now fifth question, which of the following procedures would not test for understatement of the bonus accrual in Northgate's company's statement of financial position? Now this is something which is very, very important. Would not, right? This is important. Would not test for understatement of the bonus accrual in Northgate's company's statement of financial position. So agree the payment of the bonus from post year in bank statements to the accrual listing. Okay, this could be one. Agree the bonus for the payroll records to the accrual listing. Agree the bonus from the payroll records to the accrual listing. Okay, let me write down. Compare the accrual in the financial statements to the budget and prior year and investigate any significant differences. This is an analytical procedure. Select a sample of employees from the bonus listing and recalculate their bonus. Okay. So see, we have to discuss one thing, that which one would not amount for understatement. So for understatement, the assertion is completeness, right? If we have to check for understatement, the assertion that we are trying to address is completeness. Now we have to see which of the following options do not address the assertion completeness. Okay, so agree the payment of the bonus from year-end bank statements to the accrual listing, and agree the bonus from the payroll records to the accrual listing. This both of these addresses the completeness assertion. Compare the accrual in the financial statements to the budget and prior year and investigate any significant differences. This also addresses completeness. But fourth one is recalculation. This does not address the completeness part. So that is why I think fourth option should be the right one for this. Okay. So let's mark the option that we have written down in our paper. Okay. So for fifth we have marked option D. Okay. For fourth, we have marked second and fourth. Okay. For third, we have marked third and fourth, that is fourth option. Okay. For second, we have marked 2 and 3, which is the second option, right? This one. Now the first one is pending. The first one is pending. Which two of the following initial actions should Rebridge and company take following Northgate's refusal to allow Rebridge to seek a bank confirmation? Now this is something that could again be solved. Okay, that time we just said because there was a lot of names that was mentioned over there, so that is why we did not read the case study. But as of now, we can answer this also, then we will go and read the case study also. So which two of the following initial actions should Redbridge and company take following Northgate company's refusal to allow Redbridge and company to seek a bank confirmation letter from Cedar company? So send the bank confirmation request without management's permission. Send the bank confirmation request without management permission. This could not be done. First option is rejected. Second, reevaluate the risk of material misstatement including fraud risk. Yes, you have to doubt over the integrity of the management. So second could be the one. Revise the audit plan and consider alternative procedures. Yes, but after discussion with the management. So third could be the right option. And issue a disclaimer of opinion as there is insufficient. No, you cannot directly go for the disclaimer. You have to follow with the management first. So here two options needs to be selected. So second and third seems like the correct options. Okay, so that is how we have completed. That is how we have completed as of now the 5 questions. Do you need to flag for review? No. We do not need to flag for review. But so you told us that there are in total 15 questions MCQ, but here it is written 1 of 25 because that 25 includes the descriptive type questions also. Okay, I hope this is clear. I hope this is clear. Yes. Okay. Now let's read the case studies. Okay. So it is 1st July 2025. You are an audit supervisor of Redbridge and Company working on the audit of a listed company, Northgate Company, for the year ended 31st May 2025. Bank and cash. The area of bank and cash has been assessed as high risk due to a large volume of transactions near the year end. Northgate Company has various long-standing accounts with 3 banking institutions. During the year, a new account has been opened with a new institution, Cedar Bank. The management of Northgate Company has refused to grant Redbridge and Company permission to obtain a bank confirmation letter from Cedar Bank. You have asked for an explanation but have not received a satisfactory response. Okay. Now for loan, Northgate Company has sourced external finance for the first time during the year. The draft financial statement showed non-current liabilities in relation to loan finance of 1.2 million. See my friends, after solving the case studies, what procedure you need to follow? If there were certain questions that you were not able to solve directly, then you should have come back. You should have understood that, okay, this is the point. Okay, now if you have solved all the questions, like in this case study, you have been able to solve all the questions without reading the case study because that was related to the general audit procedures, right? So now you should ideally read the case study just to evaluate if there is any material issues, if there is any issue in any of the options that you have chosen. Okay. Now share capital. Northgate Company plans to expand its operations next year and has undertaken a rights issue in the current year to fund the new venture. Now wages and salaries. Payroll has been identified as a high risk area because it has frequent manual adjustments and complex calculations related to bonuses and holiday pay accruals. Okay. So there's nothing that has come to our attention which could tell us that, okay, this particular case study is wrong in any particular sense. We have marked any of the wrong answers. Nothing has come to our attention which could make us believe that, right? So this is very, very important to understand. Here you have to give negative opinion here. I hope this is clear. I hope this is clear. Yes, I hope this is clear. Okay, now let's move to the next case study. Okay, now next case study is there, which is question number 6. Okay, so now you have to mark certain new things over here. Okay, make certain adjustments over here. Now again, do the following steps. Number 1, read the questions, identify which question you could solve even without reading the case study. Solve those questions. Then I am not saying that submit it. Solve those questions first. Then whatever questions are remaining, keep the important points in your mind. Go for the case study, identify those points, mention those points again, and after reading the whole case study, which you have to read in any way, okay, be it you have solved all the questions, just give case study single read just to evaluate whether you have marked the answers correctly or not. Okay, so which two of the following corporate governance principles should ACME company comply with? Which two of the following corporate governance principles should ACME company comply with? Okay, so this is a basic question. The remuneration committee should be composed of independent non-executive directors. Is this true? Yes, this one is true. First option is true, right? First option is true for that matter. Okay, first option is true for that matter. Okay, then the chief executive officer should be responsible for leadership of the board and ensuring its effectiveness. No, this option is not correct, because this talks about the chief executive officer, not the chairman. The chair should be, right? The chair should be. That is why second option does not seem like the correct option. The non-executive director should provide. Okay, in exam, do you need to solve with this speed only? Yes, you should solve with this speed only, so that you are able to solve all the answers appropriately in one go. Okay, now the non-executive director should provide constructive challenge and strategic guidance. Okay, the non-executive directors should provide constructive challenge and strategic guidance. Non-executive directors who are not taking part in the company. So the question is, can they provide guidance? So yes, they only provide guidance generally, right? They are not the executive members. Fourth one, again we have selected 1 and 3 already, but let's read the fourth one. Maybe we were wrong. So the audit committee should approve and appoint the external auditor. Now here, what is the problem? They just recommend. They do not appoint. They just recommend, right? So this is very, very important for us to understand. They just recommend. So this is 1 and 3. 1 and 3. Okay, now. So 1 and 3 seems like the right option. Okay. Now, which of the following factors must be considered before Borrow and Company can accept ACME company's internal audit engagement? This is clearly understandable. No, Borrow and Company is internal auditor and ACME companies is the client company. What factors they should consider before they accept? So whether the external audit team has the expertise to carry out the internal audit work or not. This is something important that should be evaluated. Okay, but more importantly, there are other points also. So let's see that which pointers are there, because one only is not the option. So if the assignments will relate to the internal controls over financial reporting, yes, if it does, then it will create conflict and the external auditor will not be able to accept the assignment of internal audit, right? So the assignments will relate to control over financial reporting. Second only is the option, plus second and third is also the option, plus 1 to 3 is also the option. One I am feeling a little less about. Now third one, if management will accept responsibility for implementing appropriate recommendation, that is, if management is accepting the responsibility, that is, we do not need to do it, management is doing it. So the option should be what? First one, whether the external audit, I am also getting a little confused over here, right? So what all points we should consider? Whether the external audit team has the expertise to carry out the internal audit work. Should this form part of it? So this is not the factor that you should consider, because anyways the expertise would be similar if the financial reporting framework is there. So second and third should be the right option. Now next one. Okay, now next one. So which of the following would result in borrowing companies assuming a management responsibility in relation to the internal audit services? That is, what are following services that this company, this audit firm could do that will end up in assuming a management responsibility? So let's discuss. Taking responsibility for designing and maintaining internal control systems. Okay, yes, this could be there. Determining whether the work of the internal audit function can be used to obtain audit evidences. Now this is not management responsibility, this is the function of the auditor only. Setting the scope of the internal audit work to be carried out. Now if you are setting the scope, then you are doing the management responsibility. So first and third should be the right option, which is the third option. Let me write, yes, third option. Okay, now the next one. Okay, so which of the following is an adequate safeguard against the threat created by the fees from Webit company? Which of the following is an adequate safeguard against the threat created by the fees from Webit company? Okay, which of the following is an adequate safeguard? So for this we need to read the question only, because we do not know that what is the fees from Webit company, right? So we will skip this. Okay, skip this. Then fifth one, indicate by clicking on the relevant boxes in the table below whether each of the following statements regarding the provision of assistance to LMA company is true or false. Okay, a familiarity threat arises as the new systems will produce data which will be used directly in the preparation of the financial statement. The threat arises but not the familiarity threat, that is why false. Now there is a risk that Borrow and company may assume management responsibility if they become involved in making management decisions. This is true. Now, there will be a heightened self-review threat due to the auditor's reliance on controls testing and on analytical review of the data summaries generated by the new system. Again, let's read it. There will be a heightened self-review threat. There will be a heightened self-review threat due to the auditor's reliance on controls testing, and on analytical review of the data summaries generated by the new system. No, this is not self-review. That is why this is. Oh, no. There will be heightened self-review threat due to the auditor's reliance on controls testing and on analytical review of the data summaries generated by the new system, because they are only applying it. So yes, true. Now, Bora and company should use a separate team made up of non-audited staff to conduct the work, and the work performed by this team should be subject to independent professional review. So now this should be something that we need to solve. As of now, we do not know, because it depends on whether it is a listed company or not. Right, that is very, very important. It should be evaluated if this is a listed company or not. So we'll have to read the question first, and then we will have to discuss about it. Okay, so this is something that I have marked we need to solve as of now. Okay, now let's read the case study. Here case study is a little important also. Now you are an audit manager of, you should always have a pen and paper, you should always write it. Okay, so you are an audit manager at Borough and Company tasked with reviewing ethical and professional issues that have arising at various audit clients. Okay, so there are 3 audit clients that are mentioned and we have to discuss for them. Borough and Company has audited ACCA company for the last 7 years. The board has decided that ACCA company will be listed on a stock exchange within the next 4 years and has asked Borough and Company to advise how to achieve compliance with corporate governance principles. The board is also considering establishing an internal audit function and has suggested that they may wish to outsource this to Borough and Company only. Okay, so they are about to be listed only. Okay, now Webbit company. Webbit company is a listed computer software company. Borough and Company has identified that fees from Webbit company for audit and other services will represent 16% of Borough and Company's total fees income this year, more than 15%. Compared with 15.5% in the prior year, that was also more. The audit engagement partner has asked you to consider safeguards to address the self-interested. This we have understood. Elmer Company, a listed company, is a national distributor of cleaning products. The management is planning to develop a new website to offer online sales to its customers. Elmer Company's finance director has asked if Borough and Company can provide assistance with the design and implementation of the website and online sales system. Okay, so this particular point where we are confused for the 5th one, Borough and Company should use a separate team made up of non-audited staff, is for the Elmer Company. Elmer Company is a listed company, therefore we cannot perform this stuff. Okay, so this was mentioned over here also. Okay, I hope this is clear. So as of now we are not able to answer only the 4th one, so let's go to the 4th one. Okay, it is not allowing me to go. Back. Yeah, now. So, which of the following is an adequate safeguard against the threat created by the fees from Webbit company? So, this is disclosure to the firm's ethics partner that fees from Webbit company represent more than 50%. No, you have to leave the client. A pre-issuance review equivalent to an engagement quality review. This could be one. Option B could be one. Using professionals who are not audit team members, this will not work for a listed client. A post-issuance review by the engagement partner of Webbit company, no. For listed clients, pre-issuance review is the key. So that is why option B, pre-issuance review, should be the second option. Okay, I hope this is clear. So we have solved 2 case studies as of now. We have mentioned this one also. We have solved 2 case studies as of now, right? Now we have to go for the third case study. Please tell me if you are understanding it. Yes, please tell me if you are understanding it. Yes, please tell me if you are understanding it. Let me know in the chat box. Yes. Let me know in the chat box if you are understanding it. Yes, please tell me if you are understanding it. Okay, good. Now let's go for the third case study. Okay, again we'll follow the same procedure. We'll solve all the MCQs. Once we have solved all the MCQs, we'll see whatever we have not been able to answer. We'll go to the case study, we'll find the relevant points and we'll answer that. Whatever we have already answered, we will just cross check if there is any information that would make that answer wrong. Okay, now after completing all three case studies, we'll take a 5 minutes break and then we will be going for the detailed answer also. Okay, so now ISA 560 subsequent events requires that auditor should perform audit procedures to identify subsequent events. The period covered by this review for marine company commenced on 1st April. Which of the following dates is the end of the period covered by the subsequent events review? See, there are no official dates that are given over here from the question. There's a concept. So what all points are there? So we generally say that whenever we talk about this particular thing, subsequent events, we cover the period up to the date of the auditor's report, right? We cover the period up to the date of the auditor's report. So the date when audit fieldwork will be completed, no. The date when financial statement will be approved by the directors, no. The date when the auditor's report will be signed, yes. The date when financial statement will be issued to the shareholder. So let's write the third option, right? The third option. Okay, now next one, this one. Okay, indicate by clicking on the relevant box in the table below whether events 1 and 2 will be classified as existing or non-existing. So this is something that we will be able to solve after we read the case study only, whether they are existing or not, right? Then indicate by clicking on the relevant box in the table below whether each of the following audit procedures are valid or not valid in relation to event 1. Okay, so again we'll have to read, then we'll be able to say. Okay, for option 3. Now option 4, question 4. Okay, question 4. So which of the following audit procedures should be carried out on event 2? Again we have to read the event only. And fifth one, the auditor's report was signed on the planned date and an unmodified opinion was issued. It is now 20th July 2025. The annual general meeting is to take place on 21st August, that is after 1 month. The environmental agency has issued a report stating that marine company is in breach of environmental regulations and a fine of $900,000 will now be levied on the company. The amount is material to the financial statements. Which of the following audit procedures should not be performed in respect of this fine? Should not be performed. Okay, so discuss the matters with the directors to determine their course of action. Yes, whether they are making the amendment or not, whether they are adjusting the event in the financial statements or not. Okay, then determine whether the financial statement needs amendment. Yes, that would be considered by auditor, and if financial statement needs amendment and the amendment has been made, then only new report would be issued and reliance on previous report would be stopped. And if the relevant change has not happened by the management, then what the auditor will do? Auditor will stop reliance on the previous report and will also issue a report or will issue an information that the report cannot be relied upon because there is some misstatement regarding this particular event. Third one, if the directors amend the disclosure in the financial statements, add an emphasis of matter paragraph in the existing auditor's report. No, emphasis of matter paragraph is not an excuse, is not a substitute for any of this reporting, right? We have already discussed about it. So third seems like the right option, but let's see the fourth one also. If the directors decide not to amend the disclosure in the financial statements, speak at the annual general meeting to inform the members of the facts. This is something that is understandable. So option number 3 is there. So let me write, we have marked third option here. Okay. Okay, so now second, third and fourth. For that we will have to read the entire case study only, then only we will be able to answer. Okay, so it is 1st July 2025. The audit of many companies nearly complete and the financial statements in the auditor's report are due to be signed next week. See, current date should always be understood by you appropriately. However, the following additional information on 2 material events has just been presented to the auditor. The company's year end was 31st March. Okay, event 1 occurred on 10th April, that is after the year end. Okay, the springs in a new type of mattress has been found to be defective, making the mattress unsafe for use. There have been no sales of this mattress. It was due to be marketed in the next few weeks. The company's insurers estimated inventory to the value of $750,000 has been affected. So this is further evidence. What is existing event? Existing event is the event that gives further evidence to the event existed on the reporting date. This existed on the reporting date, inventory was always there. So we have to understand that what is the impact, right? So that is why it is an existing event. Whereas if some event would be non-existing, then it will give information about the new events that has happened after the reporting date. So the company's insurer estimate that inventory to the value of $750,000 has been affected. The insurers also estimate that the mattresses are now only worth $225,000. No claim can be made against the supplier of springs, as this company is in liquidation with no prospect of any amount being paid to third parties. Okay. The insurers will not pay marine company for the fall in value of the inventory, as marine company was underinsured. All this inventory was in finished goods stored at the year end, and no movements of inventory have been recorded post year end. So this is first of all existing. Okay. Now, so we have solved this part, existing. Okay. Now, event to occurred on 5th June 2025. So production at a factory was halted for one day when a truck carrying dye used in coloring the fabric on mattresses reversed into a metal pylon. Okay. Puncturing the vehicle, allowing dye to spread across the factory premises and into a local river. The environmental agency is currently considering whether the release of dye was in breach of environmental legislation. So this is a new information, that is why non-existing. So we have solved first of all the second equation, right? First event is existing, second is non-existing. Now let's talk about the third question here. In total 13th question. Okay, in total 13 questions. So indicate by clicking on the relevant boxes in the table below whether each of the following order procedures are valid or invalid in relation to event 1. Event 1 as in the inventory part, right? Obtain confirmation from the insurer of the amount recoverable under the policy. Yes, this is valid, so that we can understand what is the amount of loss that should be recorded. Inspect correspondence with the supplier concerning their solvency. Okay, yes, we have to understand this. We have to inspect that what about their solvency, because we are not able to make the payments. Recalculate the net realizable value estimate for the inventory. Yes, this is also valid. Now review post year end physical inventory counts of mattresses. No, physical inventory count does not matter, the valuation matters over here. Inspect subsequent cash received from sale of defective inventory. No, because anyways we are claiming the insurance and the related assertions to it. Oh, I'm not being able to click on this one. You have reached the maximum number of selections. I think there is a technical glitch over here. No worries, let's come back from the previous answer and then try to do it. No, there's some kind of error which is here. No worries, I'll mention it, that this we are not able to solve because of a tech glitch. See, we might lose certain marks over it, so we should understand that what marks we have lost because of the tech glitch, right? It is not allowing us to select. Okay, I'll quickly try to take a screenshot also here. Okay, yes, I have taken the screenshot also. Okay, I hope this is clear. Yes. Okay. Now, so we have solved third one also. Now fourth one. Okay, fourth one. Okay, so inquire which of the following audit procedures should be carried out on event 2, that is the truck and the dyeing part. Inquire of the debtors whether they will recognize the provision for a fine in the financial statement. No, this should not be there because this is non-existing event, not an existing event. Obtain board minutes to determine the extent of the damage. Yes, and inspect the environmental legislation and any interim reports from the environmental agency to determine the extent of the damage. Yes, so 2 and 3 should be the right options. With this we have completed all the questions. Okay, now section B. Section A we have completed. Now we will be taking a 5 minutes break. We have completed in approximately 32 minutes. Even after all the explanations and everything, we have completed in somewhat 32 minutes. So understand that this is very scoring. If we are able to score 25 plus marks in this part, then we will be able to score really well in our official examination also, right? So please try to understand this, that MCQs are your key to scoring very good marks in the examination also. Now for section B, this section of the exam contains 3 constructed response questions. 3 questions would be there. Okay, each question contains a scenario which relates to one or more requirements. That is, there could be one question, there could be more questions. Okay, each question is worth 20 or 30 marks and is compulsory. That is, there is no option, compulsory question. This exam section is worth 70 marks in total. 30 marks we have already solved, now 70 marks are left. Important, in your live exam, you must enter your answer for each question in the response area provided for that question. Any answer entered into a response area provided for a different question will not be marked. That is, you have to answer in the respective areas only. Show all notes or workings that you want the marker to see within the response area provided for the question. Remember, any notes or workings made on the scratch pad or on your working papers will not be marked. The scratch pad is there, right? Just like pen and paper. So there it will not be marked. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now for this, let's have a 5 minutes break first, then we will be moving forward. Thank you. Or let's have a 10 minutes break so that you can have a appropriate break now, and then we will be starting again. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we are back. I hope I'm audible and visible up clearly. Please let me know if I'm audible and visible clearly. Please let me know. Please let me know if I'm audible and visible clearly. Okay. Yes, I have tested. I am audible and visible clearly. Thank you so much. Okay, so today we are going to solve section B. Okay, section B of AA pre-mock. Okay, so now let's solve section B part. Okay, there are certain instructions which are which we have already read, right? So total 70 marks of answers we are going to solve now. Let's click next. Okay, so there's a big case history which is there, and here there's a chance of explanation also. Okay, so let's discuss about it. Okay, so for this, read the case study first, then we will be solving the questions. Okay, read the case study first, then we will be solving the questions as well. Okay, so briefly explain how each of the following sources of information will be used by ELB and company to gain an understanding of OK company at the planning stage of the audit. That is how it is possible that these source of information will help us to understand the company, the client, and plan for it. Okay, so prior year audited financial statements, current year budgets and management accounts, board minutes, company website, discussion with the previous auditor, and access to their files. Okay, this is the answer which do not require to have any understanding with the case study, so we can write directly. Okay, so for example, prior year audited financial statement. When we talk about prior year audited financial statements, this will help us to understand. This will help us to understand accounting policies followed and the relevant judgments taken by management. It will also help us to understand variances and trends. Okay, this is very important. Okay, current year budgets and management account. Current year, not previous year. Current year budgets and management account. How this will help us to understand and plan for the audit? So this will help us perform analytical procedures at the planning stage and help with evaluating the risks associated with the company. Right, this is important, that there would be certain risk that would be associated with the company, and this will help us evaluate everything. I hope you are able to see it also. Yes, I can see on my phone. I have played the lecture over here also. I can see that yes, you are able to play also. Okay, you are able to read also. Okay, now board minutes. So board minutes just gives you one particular evaluation, one particular information, that is what were the issues that were discussed. So board minutes will help the auditor understand key issues discussed and would also help with understanding management's response to it. Okay, this is done. Now company website, this will help us. Whenever you have any questions, please feel to write on the chat box. I would be happy to answer. This will help us understand about company's environment, management, products and services, etc. Okay, this is something important. This is something important. Now discuss with the previous auditor and access to their previous files. Okay, so this will help us understand the significant issues challenges and judgments discussed in the previous year audit. Okay, so this is very important. With this we have answered this particular requirements of 5 marks. With this we have answered this particular requirement of 5 marks. Now we have to mention for others part. So we have to do what? We have to write certain pointers over here, because the next question is of what? Is of the audit risk and auditors responses. That always happens. If first question is a small question of 5 marks, say, then the next question is definitely of bigger marks, so that they can manage the marking scheme over there also, right? So this becomes very important. Now this will help us evaluate the 8 audit risk and explain the auditor's responses to each risk. So for this we have to read the case study, we have to mention all the auditor's risk that are there and how the auditor will respond to it. Okay, so this scenario relates to 4 requirements. Okay, 4 requirements. Okay, previous scenario did not relate to the 4 requirements, but this scenario relates to 4 requirements. Okay, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yes, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay, so it is 1st July 2025. You are an audit supervisor of L company and you are planning. So you have to make notes also. Okay, wherever applicable, you have to make the notes also. Oak Furniture is a new audit line. Okay, so this is one audit risk also. Okay, it is 1st July 2015. You are an audit supervisor and you are planning for the audit for the year ending 31st July. Oak Furniture is a new audit line. So this is one audit risk. New audit client. This is one audit risk. Okay, whenever you don't understand, do let me know. Okay, it manufactures office furniture such as desk and chair as well as other storage solutions. The audit engagement partner had a meeting with Oak's finance director and has provided with the following notes. Planning meeting notes. Oak's trading results have been strong this year and the company is forecasting revenue of $85 million, which is an increase from previous year. Okay, as a result of the increase in revenue, Oak has recently recruited a new credit controller to chase outstanding receivables. The finance director has informed you that although an allowance for credit losses has historically been maintained, it is anticipated that this can be significantly reduced. Again, audit risk, significant reduction in allowance for credit losses. This is one important point over here. Okay, now the company has invested significantly in the woodworking and upholstery production lines at the factory. During the year, it purchased and installed a new manufacturing line also. Oh my god. All costs incurred in the purchase and installation of that asset have been included within property, plant and equipment. These capitalized costs include the purchase price of 4.5 million and a 5-year servicing and maintenance planning costing 0.5 million. Okay, so capitalization on PP&E could be expensed also, right? This is important. Could be expensed also. Now, in November 2014 or 2024, Oak spent $400,000 on an advertising campaign. The advertising expenditure has been included within intangible asset and is being amortized over 24 months as the finance director expects the advertising to generate additional revenue over that period. So, advertising expense capitalized. It should not be appropriate advertisement expense over here, otherwise we have already considered it as an expense. It should be something like this. Advertising cost should be capitalized or expense. This is one audit risk, right? This is one audit risk. You can also write it. You can also write it in your notepads also. Now, on 29th July, the directors announced that one of its furniture lines was being discontinued due to falling demand for the product. This resulted in 4 staff members being made redundant. The payroll department has calculated the levels of termination cost associated with the redundancy, and they will be paid in August. Okay. So provision for redundancy cost. This is also important. Provision for redundancy cost. Okay. Now, in June 2025, in June 2025, Oak Company decided to revalue its premises, which had previously been accounted for using the cost model. Properties with a carrying amount under the cost model 3.8 million were revalued to 8.4 million, significant increase, more than double also, based on the valuation performed by management. The finance director also carried out an extensive review of non-current assets' lives and decided to extend the useful life of property, plant and equipment from 5 years to 8 years. Okay. Revaluation of PP&E revaluation of PP&E and revision of useful life. Now, a member of the finance team was dismissed by Oak Company in May 2025 after it was discovered that they had been fraudulently purchasing non-current assets for personal use. Oak Company started to investigate the fraud at the beginning of June 2025 by reconciling physical assets to non-current assets register, but will not have completed the reconciliation by year end. So fraud is one thing. Okay. So identification of fraud. That is one audit risk. Identification of fraud. Okay. Now, the finance director stated that there was a problem in June in the mixing of adhesives within the assembly process, which resulted in a large batch of chairs having defective bonding. Okay, a number of these units were shipped. However, due to customer complaints about stability, no further dispatches of these goods have been made. No adjustments have been made to the valuation of the damaged inventory, which will be held at cost. Okay, significant bonus on a value of year. So inventory and inventory issues and bonus. So I'll select bonus. Bonus to be mentioned over here. Okay, calculation of bonus mostly. Calculation and eligibility of bonus. Let's write this way. Calculation and eligibility of bonus. Okay, this is something that is very, very important for all of us to understand also. Okay, I hope this is clear. This is very, very important for all of us to understand also. Now the auditor's responses. So additional time should be given to understanding the entity, if possible. Experienced staff should be deployed. Okay. Now, after this, significant reduction in allowance for credit losses. So, discuss with management and understand the rationale for reduction. Also recalculate the amount of provision. Okay, capitalization of PP&E. Understand whether the costs capitalized are incurred to make the asset ready for intended use. Also evaluate if the cost capitalized should be expensed. Okay, then advertising cost should be capitalized or expensed. Advertising cost should be capitalized or expensed. Okay, this will be inspect documentation like invoice, PO to understand the items. Okay, now advertising cost, so this should be expensed in the financial statements, and relevant discussion should be done with the management. Now provision for redundancy cost. Provision for redundancy cost. Accounting for provision should be done after carefully calculating the amount of provision. Revaluation of PP&E and revision of useful life. Revaluation of PP&E and revaluation of, so understanding the basis and rationale for revaluation and effects of depreciation by revising the useful life should be understood. Okay. Now identification of fraud. So understand the impact, the cause and impact. Understand what? Understand the cause and impact of fraud and increase the testing criteria and samples. Then testing, calculation and eligibility of bonus. So auditor should understand if bonus has been paid voluntarily or following statutory provisions, and should evaluate if auditor should understand if bonus has been paid voluntarily or following statutory provisions, and should evaluate if the calculation is appropriate or not. Okay, my friends, generally we use the desktop over there, right? But here what I am doing is I am writing on the iPad. That is why it is taking a little more time for me to write also. Okay, it is like important. Okay, now inventory issue. Okay, so understand and evaluate understand and evaluate the condition of inventory and evaluate if understand and evaluate the condition of inventory and evaluate if the cost and NRV are appropriate or not. Okay, so with this we have written this full answer because this is a very big answer of 16 marks. So generally 1 marks is given for identification of risk and 1 marks is given for auditors responses. So if you end up not evaluating the appropriate audit risk, then you will lose 2 marks because the risk would be wrong, therefore the response would be wrong. What if you have evaluated the right risk but we have not mentioned in the appropriate response, then you will lose 1 marks. Okay, that is the criteria that it is followed over here. I hope this is clear. Yes, I hope this is clear. Okay, now let's go for the next question. So this scenario is for 4 questions, right? So now we are going for question number 18. Okay, that is second question out of those 4 questions. So describe substantive procedures the auditor should obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidences in relation to the redundancy cost. 5 marks. That is at least 5 steps should be written over here, right? Describe substantive procedures the auditor should perform to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidences. That is not for any particular assertion. This is for the overall sufficient and appropriate responses. Okay. So I'll write in short. Okay. Although a lot of background information needs to be written that why redundancy cost has been created and all, you can copy paste it from the question. But here what I'm going to do is, okay, so what I'll do is I'll write for the redundancy cost, audit procedures for the redundancy cost. I'm just writing that. Okay, I'm just writing the audit procedure for the redundancy cost. Okay, so number one, discuss with management and understand the amount and impact of redundancy on the financial statements to evaluate if it is material. Number two, obtain the employee agreements for the said employees and understand the components of payroll and the amount that should be considered in redundancy provision. Okay, now recalculate the amount of provision for redundancy and check if there are material variances. Fourth, we have to trace the payments made through bank statements obtain written representations from management confirming that all relevant details have been shared with the auditor. I hope this is clear. So with this we have written the 5 steps or 5 audit procedures for the redundancy provision also, and we have completed question number 18 also. Okay, this is also very important. We have already made down all the important pointers, right? So that is very important. Okay, now we can go for the next question. Okay, but how about we take a 2 minutes break before we move to the next question? Yes guys, really sorry, there was a tech issue, but now it has been resolved, not an issue. Okay, so the next question is, during a meeting, O company's finance director mentioned to the audit engagement partner that he is keen to align the objectives of O company with its auditors, ELM and company, to assist in achieving this. He has suggested that the audit fee could be based on a percentage of O company's final profit for the year. Okay, the finance director has asked if ELM and company can help identify potential acquisition targets. Discussions are currently at an early stage and no work has been undertaken at present. Okay, now the finance director has also mentioned that once the audit has been completed, the engagement team will be invited to attend a weekend getaway at a luxury hotel. Okay, now identify and explain two. This question is of 4 marks. So identify and explain two ethical threats which may affect ELM and company's audit of O company, and for each threat recommend an appropriate safeguard to reduce the threat. Okay, so what I'll do is this is question number 19, this is just 4 marks question. So what I'll do is I'll identify two threats. Okay, so threats along with safeguards. Okay, I'm mentioning this way, threats along with safeguards. Okay, so number 1, okay, the threat for number 1 is, the number 1 threat is that percentage contingent fees is there, right? This will ultimately lead to self interest threat. Okay, self interest threat is there, and what we should do? Politely decline. Okay, for second, I hope this is clear. For second, okay, see, I can see that people are not responding in the chat box. That is why I am not discussing it much. However, my intention was to discuss it, each and every answer, all the possibilities, and then find out the solution. But since you guys are not responding on the chat box, what I am doing is I am mentioning it over here so that you understand it well. Okay, that is how we are planning it. Now the second one. So potential acquisition targets. Okay, discussions are currently at an early stage. Okay, so this will lead to corporate finance. That is, we are trying to find out the targets. So corporate finance function is there. We are performing this corporate finance function, which is generally in-house. So we are having advocacy threat. Can we do this? Yes, but if the safeguard would be use a separate team. Okay, and then the third one is very, very important over here. For third one, what is the question? Go and see. What is the question? The question is the party, the gifts and hospitality, right? So this is one of the most famous question that is always asked. So gifts and hospitality is there, right? This again leads to self interest threat, and then it leads to politely decline. My friends, did you notice that most of the questions like we have discussed are from the planning stage of the audit or from the ethics, and we will see that it might be from the completion stage of the audit. But there are so many other questions also, right? So then other than this, there's only one thing which is important, which is the audit procedure. But for that you have to understand the entire syllabus to write. Okay, that is how the ACCA body tests. Now question number 19 is also completed. Okay, I have marked it. Question number 19 is also completed. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now let's see the next question. This is the last question. Okay, this is the last question for this particular part. Okay, now ISA 320 materiality in planning and performing an audit requires auditors to establish materiality for the financial statements as a whole. Explain 4 factors that auditors should consider when explaining materiality for the financial statements. Now my friends, here this particular requirement, this particular case study is not at all valuable for this particular requirement, which is for 4 marks. Explain 4 factors that auditors should consider when establishing materiality for financial statements. Okay, so factors that should be considered while determining materiality includes, these are not specific, but this includes what? So number one, this includes nature, size and operations of the entity. Okay, so bigger the nature, size, the more complex the nature, size and business of the company, the more the bigger would be the material, the lower would be the materiality. We'll have to understand everything. Okay, impact of laws and regulations on the company's operations. So higher would be the impact, lower would be the materiality, and vice versa. Okay, then past performance and past experience of auditor with the client. That is, in last year if the materiality was set at X level and it proved to be little less, then we can increase it to more, and if it proves to be little more, then we could reduce it to a little less in the current year. Okay, that could be one. Then fourth one, when we talk about the fourth one is very important over here. Okay, fourth one is the financial performance and benchmarks of the entity. Example, an entity with higher profit will have higher materiality also if the profitability needs to be based on materiality, and vice versa, right? Fifth one is the risk of material misstatements. Ideally, you should also write one answer, that risk of material misstatement, that is, higher the risk of material misstatements, lower would be the materiality, and vice versa. This is something that you should ideally write. Okay, so with this we have completed this question also. Now the next one. Okay, identify and explain 8 deficiencies in Cosmic company's internal controls and provide a recommendation to address each of these deficiencies. So for this we will have to read this case study. Whenever we identify any deficiency in internal control, we have to write it over here. Okay, and you know why do I say that we should always read the question first before reading the case study? Imagine a situation that while answering the previous question we would have read the case study. Okay, now we would not have highlighted any of the questions that are mentioned over here, right? The like the 8 internal control deficiencies. For that question it was not relevant also to read the case study, but for this question it is highly relevant. So ACCA body knows this, and sometimes it also tells you to waste this time over here, and you should not do so. What you should do, you should always evaluate whether the question requires some reference to the case study or not. If not, you should directly answer that question first and then read the case study for the relevant part only. Okay, so now we have to read the case study, but whenever we identify any of the internal control deficiency, we have to write it over there, and then we have to recommend the controls also. So this scenario relates to 2 requirements. It is 1st July 2025. You are an audit supervisor with Universe and Company working on the audit of Cosmic company, okay, which specializes in manufacturing household appliances. You are tasked with reviewing internal controls for the audit for the year ending 30th September 2025. It is 1st July, right? July is August, September, 3 months ago. Now, Cosmic company operates production facilities in 3 different countries and distributes its products through various channels. So there are 3 different countries that are affected by it. Okay, sales. Cosmic company's website allows individuals to order goods directly, and full payment is taken in advance. Currently, the website is not integrated into the inventory system, and inventory levels are not checked at the time when orders are placed. So since website is not integrated, there might be issues that orders might be taken, but the orders might not be able to be dispatched because of non-availability also. So one control deficiency which I am writing in short is website is not linked to inventory levels. Okay, now to mitigate credit risk, the credit control team performs credit checks on new customers, and proposed credit limits are approved by the sales director. These credit limits are entered into the sales system and are not reviewed. So first of all, reviewed by sales director and not reviewed. This is the control deficiency. Why do I say that? See, first of all, even if it is reviewed by sales director, it is approved. Sorry, not reviewed. Even if it is approved by sales director, it should be reviewed by other people also, that is the finance director maybe, because sales director might be trying to scale up the sales. Their only target is to scale up the sales, but what if they offer some credit facilities which might not be very favorable for the company? So that could also happen. So therefore approved by sales director, but it should be reviewed also. Okay, now purchases and inventory. Raw materials used in the manufacturing process are purchased from a wide range of suppliers. As a result of staff changes, supplier statement reconciliations are no longer performed. Additionally, changes to supply details in master file can be undertaken by purchase clerks as well as supervisors. Okay, so first of all, reconciliation of supplier, what it is called is specifically supplier statement. Reconciliation of supplier statement should be done regularly or is not done regularly. That should be the point that we should write. Is not done, that is one risk. Second risk is that changes to supply details in the master file can be undertaken by purchase clerks as well as supervisors. No, these are junior level people, they should not be allowed to approve this. Okay, so changes to supply details should be or should not be done by clerks or supervisors. They should be done by whom? They should be done by either mid-level managers or top-level managers. Okay, then the finance controller, to manage cash flow effectively, approves all supplier invoices regardless of size for payment 60 days after receipts. There is no formal review process for this payment by the finance director. So approval of all invoice without review of finance director. Okay, understood. Now, warehouses across the company conduct monthly perpetual inventory counts. High value items are stored in secure areas accessible via standardized 4-digit code. This code is uniform across all warehouse sites for convenience. Due to unforeseen disruptions, some of the monthly inventory counts were not performed. So inventory counts not performed, I am mixing two. Okay, inventory counts not performed, and or let us write differently only, inventory counts not performed and standard codes are used, which will increase the risk, right? Because these are standard codes. Anybody could go to any premises and enter this standardized code, standard as a similar code. So similar code for all premises, that is a very unhealthy practice, to be honest, right? Now, other systems. The internal audit department at Cosmic Company is currently undergoing restructuring. IA staff shortages have hampered progress, and due to this, only 20% of the company's assets have been physically verified. Okay, only 20% assets are physically verified, because of which there could be existence issues. Right now, the restructuring requires substantial changes in personnel, and as a task, the human resource department delegated the task of setting up new employees to the payroll department. The payroll supervisor was informed of wage rate increase via the email from the HR director. Okay, so creation of employee master without HR and BRS not on monthly basis. Why I have mixed these two? Because we do not have any extra space to write it, right? That is why I have mentioned it over here. So these are the control deficiencies. This is a 16 marks question. We have mentioned 8 deficiencies. Now we have to mention the control recommendations also. Once we have mentioned the internal control deficiencies and the recommendations, we are sorted for this particular answer. This is answer number 21. So we would be solving a bigger part of the question by this. Okay, so website is not linked to inventory. Link the website ASAP to avoid order of unavailable items. Okay, approved by sales directors and not reviewed. This should be reviewed by finance director. This should be reviewed by finance director as well. I'm writing in a little short, right? Okay, now reconciliation of supplier statement is not done. Reconciliation needs to be done to plan payments, receipts and other operations effectively. Changes to supplier details should be done by clerks to avoid fraud. It is important to have segregation of duties and balance between authority and responsibility. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now, approval of all invoice without review of finance director. This practice will not be appropriate if balance of payments needs to be done, as approving on a standard basis is not correct, right? Now, inventory counts not performed and the standard codes are used. This might lead to fraud as same codes are used across all warehouses. Unique codes should be used and only relevant people should be given the access also. Now, only 20% are physically verified. Perform alternative procedures for physical verification or outsource internal audit function. Okay, now creation of employee master without HR and BRS. Okay, so employee master should be created only by HR department and BRS should be done on a monthly basis. Okay, so this is something for which we have completed. This is something with which we have completed 16 marks question as well. So we have completed a bigger part of the question also now. So this was 21, question number 21. Okay, it is always a healthy practice to keep a track of what question we have completed. For example, if we were not able to solve this right now, then we should have it flagged so that we can come back later and solve this particular question. Okay, now the next one, describe the substantive audit procedures. Substantive procedure the auditor should perform to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence in relation to existence and valuation of worker companies trade receivables. Okay, so trade receivables, this relates to 4 requirements. Okay, that is 22, 23, 24 and 25. So this is the last case study, and once we solve this, then everything would be sorted. So trade receivables, let's read it quickly and then try to figure out the audit procedure for existence valuation. Okay, so Walker Company's draft financial statements as of 31st May 2025 show an increase in trade receivables and a decrease in the allowance for receivables as compared to the prior year. Okay. As a result of a lack of responses in prior years, the audit engagement partner has decided that her trade receivables circulation will not be performed this year. Instead, she has asked you to identify alternative substantive procedures to confirm the existence and valuation of trade receivables. Okay, so describe substantive procedures the auditor should perform to obtain sufficient and appropriate evidence in relation to existence and valuation of worker. Okay, number 1. Walker Company's draft financial statement as a, of course you should mention the headlines also, that following other procedure that should be performed. Okay, draft financial statement show an increase in receivables and a decrease in the allowance for receivables. Okay, so we have to address two assertions, existence and valuation. Okay, so we should as an auditor should see trade confirmation, trade receivable circulation will not be performed this year because they have not responded. So that would be a waste of time to mention this particular point, right? That would be a waste of time. Okay, so how we should do? Auditor should obtain the breakup of trade receivables from the management and understand the nature of trade receivables. Then aging analysis should be conducted to identify long standing balances and should take an update on these balances, whether they would be payable or not, or whether we need to evaluate if provisions are required. Okay, that is one thing. Third thing is that we should do what? We should review slow moving and obsolete inventory to identify any write-offs which will impact the financial statements. Okay, now the fourth one. Okay, fourth one is what? That we should take subsequent status of payments to check the authenticity of invoices. Then fifth one, obtain written representations to confirm whether all information has been provided to auditor or not. Okay, I hope this is clear. So with this we have completed the procedures also, but since this is a 6 marks question, I would suggest that we should write a sixth one also. That would be very, very important for all of us. Okay, read board minutes to understand and evaluate any further information that could be relevant. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now we can go for the next question. Next question is, describe the substantive procedures the auditor should perform to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidences in relation to the revaluation of land and buildings that has been recently purchased. Okay, revaluation, just revaluation, that is very very important over here. Just revaluation has been asked. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Please let me know in the chat box if anything needs to be asked. If anybody wants to ask anything, do let me know. So we are now solving question number 23, 24 and 25, and it would be done. Okay, out of these three questions, I assure you that there would be one question that would be either from the completion stage or the reporting stage. Okay, that is 100% sure. Okay, now land and buildings. Walker Company has a policy of revaluing land and buildings that is undertaken on a rolling basis over a 5-year period. Walker Company has a policy of revaluing land and buildings. This is undertaken on a rolling basis over a 5-year period. During the year, Walker Company requested an external reviewer to revalue a number of properties, including the warehouse purchased in September 2024. Depreciation is charged on a pro rata basis. Okay, so number one process: discuss with management and read previous year reports to understand the revaluation policy. It should not happen that they are following this policy for the current year but saying that we always follow it, right? Then understand or verify the existence of the relevant asset via physical verification. How many marks? 5 marks. Okay, third one, okay, evaluate the objectivity, competence and skills of the external valuer. Evaluate the objectivity, competence and skills of the external valuer. Obtain the valuer obtain the valuer's report and evaluate. Obtain the valuer's report and evaluate the amount of revision of value, or not revision, the revaluation of asset. Ask the management to make the relevant accounting adjustments and to evaluate the effect on financial statements. Okay, with this we have completed this question. Now the next one: is there anything that you need to ask? Please let me know. If there's anything that you need to ask, please do let me know. Not an issue, please do let me know. Okay, I think we should take a 2 to 3 minutes break and then we will be continuing 24 and 25. These are the last two questions that are pending. Once we complete these two questions in next 5 to 10 minutes, we will be done with our paper also. Okay, so let's take a 2 to 3 minutes break. Okay, so now let's solve last two questions and then we will be completing this whole paper. Okay, so this describes substantive procedures the auditor should perform to obtain sufficient and appropriate evidences in relation to the director's remuneration disclosed. Okay, so there are information that are given, director's remuneration. My friends, please try to understand this one thing, that whenever there is any information given and then you are asked for performing the audit procedures on this, you should always evaluate that what are the specific information that is given over here. For example, here we have discussed about the external reviewer, right? This is important so that the examiner would know that you have cross-referenced your procedures with the case study, the information that is given on the case study as well. Plus, a lot of examiner reports would be analyzed and would be presented in front of you on my YouTube channel, which is ACCA with CA Supreet Agrawal. So please try to subscribe to this channel so that you get all the updates. Okay. Now, directors remuneration. So Walker Company's board is comprised of 6 directors. Walker Company's board is comprised of 6 directors. Their overall remuneration has 2 elements: an annual salary paid monthly and a significant annual bonus as well. Okay, paid on 15th May. So Walker Company's board is comprised of 6 directors. Their overall remuneration has 2 elements: annual salary and which is paid monthly, and a significant annual bonus which is paid on 15th May. All remuneration paid to directors is included within wages and salaries. Local legislation requires disclosure of the overall total of directors' remuneration analyzed by element and by director. Okay, so this is something that we should always disclose, right? So what are the audit procedures? Again, sufficient and appropriate, not any particular assertion, right? So first audit procedure would be obtain the breakup of directors remuneration from management and understand if it crosses the thresholds, if any. For example, in India there is a threshold of say 11% of book profits, right, total. So whether it is crossing that threshold or not, that is very, very important. Now, obtain employee agreement, or not employee, obtain director employment agreements, not employment agreements, and evaluate the components from that document. Number 3, what is important over here? That is, we should discuss with management and obtain rationale and calculation. How many marks? 4 marks. Calculation done for the bonus. Okay, trace the payment of bonus to the bank statement, whether it has actually been paid or not, right? That is important. And at the end, the last procedure that you should write is obtain written representation. This is a common factor that you should always mention. Obtain written representation from management whether all relevant information has been submitted or not to the auditor. Okay, this is something that is very, very important for all of us to understand. With this, we have completed the 24th question also. But my friends, please try to understand this particular thing, that whenever you write this last audit procedure, which is obtain written representation, what you should evaluate is that this should be your extra point. That is, this question is of 4 marks, right? So after writing 4 relevant procedures, then you should understand that you should evaluate and write written representation after you have mentioned everything, okay, not as a core procedure. So whenever there is a discussion or whenever there is a procedure that you need to mention for the purpose of say discussing with the management, obtaining understanding from the management, or written representation. That should be your extra audit procedures other than the overall audit procedures. Okay, I hope this is clear. Now the last part, I'm sure that this must be from the reporting part only. Now discuss the issue and describe the impact on the auditor's report, because definitely it has to be asked, right? So you have reviewed the disclosures in the financial statements, and the director's remuneration is shown as an overall total and not analyzed by element or director. The finance director has confirmed that the directors are not willing to adjust the draft financial statements. Okay, so okay, here you should also mention in the last part. In the last part, you should also mention one more audit procedure. This should be your sixth one. This should be your sixth one. And fifth, see, wherever I have given the differences in the form of spaces, you should always align your spaces appropriately. Okay, I'm writing on the iPad, that is why it is creating a little issue. Okay, so fifth one is check whether relevant disclosures are given or not for director by director. And which one was that? And element by element, whether that has been given or not. Okay, that is very, very important. Now the next one. Okay, so they have not given that disclosure, and now they are not in the view of revising it also. So now how the auditor should deal with it? Discuss the issue and describe the impact on the auditor's report, if any, should this issue remain unresolved. Okay, so in the giving, I am writing in a little short. Okay, in the given case, there is a requirement of certain disclosures regarding directors' remuneration, which management does not want to give. Therefore, we need to understand, or therefore auditor has to evaluate if the effects of this material misstatement is pervasive or non-pervasive, since the disclosure that has not been given relates only to the director's remuneration. Hence, since the disclosure that has not been given relates to only to the director's remuneration, hence qualified opinion should be issued by the auditor as, therefore qualified opinion should be issued by the auditor as material misstatements are present in financial statements the effects of which are non-pervasive in nature. So I have written in short over here. Okay, I hope this is very, very important for you. Okay, with this we have completed everything, but now what I will suggest is that we should also go back and check that there was one answer that we were not able to mention that time, right? This one again we are not able to mention, so there would be some marks that would be cut for this one. So other than this, we have solved everything. Okay, we have solved everything. Okay, we have solved everything. Now here we have solved everything. Okay, this screen shows the flag status of each question. Okay, so we have not flagged anything. Okay, complete, you have attempted the question. Incomplete, you have viewed the question but not attempted it. Unseen, you have not viewed the question. So we have solved every question. Okay, we have solved every question. You can see the status over here. Okay, you can see the status over here as well. Okay, we have solved all questions. You can select individual questions for review by clicking on the question number. During your review, you can change answers or flag the status. No, we do not want to check it, but if we just understand in summary, then the question majorly relates to the planning stage, the risk assessment stage, the audit procedure stage. It could be for the overall substantive procedures, overall sufficient and appropriate audit evidences for certain assertions also, as well as the question might relate to the reporting part also. So that is our summary, right? Now I'm clicking on the end examination. Yes. So I have submitted this part. Okay, your exam is now complete. You can access additional learning support resources at www.accglobal.com. Again, I am taking the screenshot. You can now close this page. So I have closed the page also. Okay, I think it's done. Okay, now it is about marking the examination. Okay, so this is correct. Okay, but for marking scheme, let's have a different video, then we will be marking it. Now you can relate it to the suggested answer, which is anyways available to you. Okay, you can relate it to the suggested answer, and whenever you feel difficulty, please feel free to let me know. Okay, so thank you so much. So if we mark it, this one was correct, this one was also correct, this one was also correct. See, the overall score is low because we have not framed the entire answers for the descriptive part, right? But other than that, the MCQs would be 100% correct, I feel. Let's check. Yes. So out of 5 questions, all 5 were correct. Now second case study, this one is also correct. 6th, 7th is also correct. 8th is also correct. Okay. 9th is also correct. 10th is also correct. Yes, perfect. So second case study is also entirely correct. Third one, this one is correct. Again, this one is also fully correct. So out of 15 as of now, we have checked 12, all 12 are correct. The 13th one, let's see, 13th one is correct. This one was not marked because of a technical issue, like we remember. Okay. For 14th, this one is correct, and for 15th, again This one would be correct only. Yes, this one is also correct, right? So we have solved 15 MCQs. All 15 MCQs are correct. And why this mark is low? Because we have mentioned the discussion points only. We have not mentioned the entire answer like we have discussed. But let's quickly have a glimpse of it. Okay. So understand accounting policies. Everything is there, right? Okay. Okay. Please load. Please load. Please load. Okay, then the next one, this one is there. Okay, so I'm not giving the marking scheme as of now. Okay, yeah, then this one, yes, we have mentioned this one. Okay, so we can award our marks over here. We can award our marks over here. Say I have given, say, 4 marks. Okay, so I have given, say, 4 marks. So we have to check it. Okay, let's check it through that. So for example, for this one I have given 4 marks. Okay, now for 16 question, this one. Okay, what I'll do is I'll open the answers here also on my laptop also. I'll open the answers so that I can check it. Okay, so that 28 was from 30 marks, right? So we have scored really well. Those 28 marks was from 30 marks, so that was really well. Why we lost 2 marks? Because of that one MCQ that we were not able to mark because of the technical glitch, right? Now, yes. Okay, so this one is also correct. Okay, again 4 marks. Okay, now we can go to the next one. This one, out of 16 marks, let me check, did we evaluate all the risk? Yes. So although we have mentioned all the risk, I am still giving myself 14 marks here. Okay, or I would suggest just 12 marks for the purpose of understanding. Okay, now this one I have already given. Okay, now the next one, 19, contingent fees, self-interest, politely decline. Corporate finance function, advocacy thread, use a separate team. Yes. Gifts and hospitality, self-interest, politely decline. Again, full mark should be there, but I am giving myself 3 marks. Okay, next. Factor that should be considered: nature, size, limit of loss, cost performance, financial performance. Okay, here some points are little differently worded, but again the similar answer. So again 3 marks. Okay, I am cutting 1 mark for no reason. Okay, now this one again 16 marks question. Website not linked, approved by sales director, reconciliation of supplier statements, changes to supplier deals, approval of invoices, inventory counts, physically verified creation. I'm just checking in a rough manner. Okay, although you should read the entire suggested answer, but I'm just checking. Okay, reviewed by finance director, reconciliation, avoid fraud. Yes, again this is also seeming very correct. So out of 16 I am giving myself 12 marks. Why 4 marks has been cut? Just for the writing part that I have not written in full. Okay, I am checking all the keywords. All the keywords are exactly matching. Auditor should obtain the breakup of trade receivable from the management and understand the nature of trade receivables. Okay, here aging analysis, breakup, slow moving, subsequent status, written presentation. Board minutes is mentioned first, and then again everything else is mentioned. So again 4 marks, 2 marks are cut for no reason. Okay, so you are evaluating on YouTube live also? Yes, I am evaluating also on an overall basis. Okay, as of now we have scored 70 marks. Okay, now discuss with management and read previous year reports to understand the revaluation policy. verify the existence of the relevant assets, evaluate the objectivity and competence, values report. See, this one is correct, but the language is very different, so that is why I am marking myself 2 marks. Okay, because the language is entirely different here. I have mentioned my own language, that is why only 2 marks. Okay, then obtain the breakup of directors remuneration from management and understand whether it crosses the threshold. Obtain directors. See, language is somewhat different, but the points are trace the payment and everything is matching entirely. Again 2 marks. Last one is, in the given case there is a requirement of certain disclosures regarding directors remuneration which management does not want to give. Therefore, auditor has to evaluate if the effects of this material assessment is pervasive or non-pervasive. Since the disclosure that has been given relates only to directors remuneration, hence qualified opinion should be issued. This would be almost same. So for this I deserve at least 3 marks, my friends. Okay, at least 3 marks. Okay, so with this we have completed it. Complete marking. Yes, marking is complete. I have deducted a lot of marks which should not be deducted for that matter. Okay, so that is something that is very important for all of us to understand. Okay, so this is very important for all of us to understand that how we have scored 77 marks. Okay, so this is something that is very important for all of us to understand also. I hope this is clear. Yes, so with this we have completed the entire understanding. Now there should not be any issues that might be going forward. Cutting 2 marks to avoid self-review thread which may cause an issue with independence or objectivity. Sorry, I did not understand your question. Can you please repeat your question so that we can understand and move forward? See, why I have cut 2 marks, why I have cut certain marks over there is that I feel that sometimes the language might result into cutting of the marks. That is why I have cut the marks. Otherwise, there is no use of cutting the marks over there. Okay. So if you have any trouble, please feel free to chat as of now in the live video. If not, if you want to discuss further about it, please feel free to reach out to me on my Telegram channel, which is ACCA with CA Supreet Agrawal. I would be happy to discuss everything over there. Okay. Yes, please let me know if you are writing right now. Okay. Yes, so with this we have completed the entire AA pre-mock along with the evaluation also, where we have scored 77 marks even without writing much of the answers in full, but we have covered all the keywords. In real exam we would have scored a little better because we would have typed everything about the backstory, about the points would have been described a little better. Okay, so I think that would be very well, and I hope you are very well prepared for the examination also. Just in case if you face any trouble, please feel free to let me know on the chat box or on my Telegram channel, which is ACCA with CA Supreet Agrawal. Alternatively, please subscribe to this channel, which is ACCA with CA Supreet Agrawal, where we will be bringing a lot of videos for you that will be really helpful for you. Thank you so much.